Brent Spiner has only played TNG's original Data twice since Star Trek Nemesis since LT. Commander Data's heroic sacrifice in Star Trek Nemesis, Brent Spiner has only portrayed the beloved Star Trek, the Next Generation version of the android twice. As part of the original USS Enterprise D crew on TNG, Data quickly became one of the show's most popular characters, thanks in no small part to Brent Spiner's compelling performance. Throughout TNG's 7 seasons, Data's quest to discover his humanity became one of the show's best ongoing storylines, and his friendship with LT. Commander Geordi Law Forge, LeVar Burton, remains one of Trek's best friendships. Data's storylines in the Star Trek The Next Generation films did not fare quite as well as his stories on the show, and the question of Data's age was also becoming a problem. As an android, Data did not age, although a line in the TNG Season 7 episode Inheritance states that he does have an aging program. But Brent Spiner was beginning to look older by the later TNG films. It's unfortunate that Star Trek mostly forgot about Data's supposed aging program and killed him off in Star Trek Nemesis, but modern Star Trek has given him a couple of chances to return. In Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 7, Fully Dilated, the USS Cerritos sends an away team to Dilmer 3, where they find the severed head of LT Commander Data. This Data originates from an alternate universe where everything is purple, and the events of Star Trek Nemesis either did not happen or have not happened yet. As LTS, Beckett Mariner, Tawny Newsome, Devan Attendi, Noah Wells, and Tlin Gabrielle Ruiz wait to be beamed back to the Cerritos. Tendi finds a way to reactivate Data's head. Brent Spiner returns to voice Data, who seems unbothered by the loss of his android body. Data answers Tendi's science questions and helps her add more achievements to her resume as she vies for the senior science officer position on the Cerritos. This version of Data feels like the Data of TNG, with his willingness to help, his clever retorts, and his inability to use contractions. He ultimately chooses to return to his own universe, partly to get back to his best friend Geordi, and suggests that Captain Carol Freeman, Don Lewis, give the science officer position to both Tendi and Tlin. Brent Spiner also returned as Data in the opening scene of Star Trek Picard Season 1 via a dream sequence. Clearly still haunted by Data's death in Star Trek Nemesis, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, dreams that he's playing a game of poker with the android aboard the USS Enterprise D. When Picard looks out of the window, he sees Mars being attacked by rogue synths and soon awakens in his bed at his family's French vineyard. Picard later dreams of Data painting a faceless woman, reminding him of a real painting Data once did that resembles Dodge Asha. Issa Briones' Star Trek Picard Season 1 staged Brent Spiner to portray Picard's vision of Data, making him look as much like Picard remembered him as possible. Still, it would be nearly impossible to make Data look exactly the same. Picard Season 3 fixed this by giving Data a new synthetic body that does age, allowing Brent Spiner to continue portraying an updated version of the android. As an animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks has the ability to bring back actors like Brent Spiner from Star Trek The Next Generation and beyond to voice the original versions of their beloved characters. Brent Spiner, beloved by Star Trek fans for his portrayal of the android Data, has long been a fixture in the franchise, particularly in Star Trek The Next Generation TNG. Data, the emotionless yet evolving android with a desire to become more human, became one of the most iconic characters of the TNG era. However, since the final TNG film, Star Trek Nemesis 2002, Spiner has only played the original Data twice, a surprising fact considering the character's immense popularity. This shift from a once frequent portrayal of the android to only 2 returns can be attributed to several factors, including Spiner's own views on Data, the franchise's evolution, and narrative decisions in the Star Trek universe. For longtime fans, these appearances have become treasured moments, but they also signal a broader change in how Star Trek approaches its legacy characters. Spiner's first post-Nemesis return as Data, the first significant return of Brent Spiner as the original Data, came in the critically acclaimed Star Trek Picard series. The first season of Picard, which debuted in 2020, was marked by nostalgia, centering on Sir Patrick Stewart's return as Jean-Luc Picard, and it offered fans a bittersweet reunion with Data. In Picard, Data's return was not a full resurrection. Instead, the show incorporated Data through flashbacks and dream sequences, as well as a touching subplot about Picard grappling with his friend's death. This emotional storyline resonated deeply with fans, as Nemesis had left many unsatisfied with Data's sacrifice. In Nemesis, Data sacrificed himself to save the crew of the Enterprise, which marked an end to his character's arc, or so it seemed. When Spiner returned in Picard, it wasn't for an action-packed role or a fully integrated return to the Star Trek universe. Instead, it was a deeply philosophical exploration of mortality, closure, and humanity. Data's appearances were poignant, with one of the most powerful moments coming when Picard and Data finally said goodbye to one another in a simulated environment. Data asked to be allowed to die in peace, reflecting his ongoing quest for humanity. His desire to experience mortality was the final piece of his journey toward becoming human. This narrative decision was a thematic crescendo, bringing closure to Data's character arc in a way Nemesis did not. This appearance, however, was still a limited engagement. Spiner did not play Data in the sense that fans knew him from TNG. Instead, the android was largely confined to Picard's memories, representing an echo of who Data was. The emotional weight of the scenes made it clear that Spiner's portrayal of the original Data was meant to be a farewell, rather than a resurgence of the character. Spiner's second post-Nemesis Data appearance. Spiner's second portrayal of the original Data since Nemesis occurred in Picard Season 3. While Season 2 introduced a new character, Dr. Adam Sung, also played by Spiner, Season 3 once again brought back the original Data, though in a much different form. In this final season, the original Data's consciousness was merged with his brother, Lore, and a synthetic body, creating a hybrid character that had both Data's memories and Lore's rebellious nature. This return of Data in Season 3 was less about continuing the legacy of the purely original Data, and more about blending different elements of Spiner's portrayals over the years. Fans were treated to the emotional beats of Data's character, while also seeing a more complex, layered version of the android. This synthesis allowed for some of the android's most profound qualities, his empathy, curiosity, and loyalty, to come to the surface once more. At the same time, the presence of Lore's influence made this Data unpredictable, adding tension to the storyline. While this return was a significant moment for Star Trek fans, it was clear that the original Data, as he had been in TNG and Nemesis, was a thing of the past. This new version of Data was both familiar and alien, a fitting metaphor for how the Star Trek franchise has evolved over the decades. Why only twice? The limited appearances of Data since Nemesis can be attributed in part to Brent Spiner's own reluctance to keep playing the character. Spiner has frequently mentioned in interviews that one of the reasons he was hesitant to reprise the role was his age. Data, being an android, does not age, but Spiner, of course, does. Over time, the physical discrepancy between the actor and the character became more apparent, making it increasingly difficult for Spiner to portray Data convincingly. Additionally, Star Trek has evolved significantly since the days of TNG. The franchise has moved in new directions with shows like Discovery and Picard, focusing on different characters and themes. While legacy characters still play a role, they are often used sparingly to avoid overshadowing the new stories being told. In this way, Spiner's limited returns as Data reflect a broader trend within the franchise to pay homage to its past while looking forward. In conclusion, Brent Spiner's portrayal of Data since Nemesis has been limited but impactful. His two post-Nemesis returns as Data, particularly in Picard, have offered emotional depth and closure to the character.